Hey everyone, this is a recording that I made in the middle of November, which is kind of a first impressions talk with my brother that I had about Red Dead Redemption 2. Mitchell, my brother, has played Red Dead Redemption a bunch, and at the time I thought it would be a good idea to get him in and just run some thoughts about the design and the differences between the second one and the first one, considering that there was an 8-year gap. The reason that I'm throwing this up now is discussed in one of the other videos that have just came up on the channel, which talks about what's going on in 2019. Hopefully there's something in here that you find interesting or useful or helpful, and I should also mention that it's all audio. So I've thrown some Red Dead Redemption footage over the top, and with the exception of a small spoiler section towards the end of it, it's all audio, so you don't need to be watching the screen, you can just have it on in the background. Anyway, hopefully you enjoy it. Let's jump into it. Hey Mitch, thanks for coming and sitting with me to talk about Red Dead Redemption. Why don't we just jump straight into it?
Yeah, sounds good. I'm always happy to talk about Red Dead Redemption, that's for sure.
I know you're a big fan.
I will talk about it for as long as you need me to talk about it.
I guess on that note, how big a fan would you say? Like, is it your favorite game? Would you say it's like in your top 5? Because I know you've played it quite a bit and you're a big fan of it. But how big a fan would you describe yourself? Okay,
so I am a huge fan of the Red Dead Redemption franchise. Huge fan of Rockstar altogether. But, the first game was my favorite game. It probably still is. Huge game, special to me for so many reasons. I've played through it, I think, 4 times, and that's played through to 100% game completion as well. So, huge fan of Red Dead 1. And obviously, midnight release, I went and picked up the second one. Highly anticipated.
Big fan.
Yeah, very big fan. Waited a long time. It came out. Went straight up to get it, and was lucky enough that I was on some holidays when it came out. So, yeah, I've been enjoying it thoroughly since its release.
Yeah, nice. Okay, and it's interesting because a couple of the guys at work are actually playing back through it now because they don't have the facility to go out and buy it and play it. The new one, Red Dead 2. So, it's interesting because we were talking about it came out in 2010, I believe it was, and so it's 8 years old,
yes.
nearly 9 years old, depending on when it came out in 2010. How recently have you played it? Did you play it leading up to the release of Red Dead 2? Or
no, because it's so special to me. I try and keep a long length of time between my playthroughs.
Okay.
So yeah, obviously the story is pretty hard hitting, pretty very, very good. As well as the game, I guess everything about it. Like it's just like if I don't know, some people can watch their favorite movie over and over again. For me, is I experienced it and loved it, and even after my first playthrough, I gave it a good gap before I went and did it again, just so it had that element of being really special, which it was every time it is.
So how long do you reckon it's been since you played the first one? Just to sort of set the stage with how much knowledge we're going to be bringing into this one of the previous one. And then obviously once we start talking about Red Dead 2, we've kind of got a bit of context.
Yeah, okay. So I'd say maybe 10 months.
Okay.
For my last playthrough. But it was quite common that you could find me late on a Saturday night after a few whiskeys just playing lies dice. Or poker.
Yes, yeah, I know
because
the liar's dice.
Yes, playing poker in person, can lead to arguments. But whereas it can in Red Dead as well. But I can control those arguments a lot better. Yeah, no, good times.
So whip out the old pistols.
Yeah.
Bang bang.
It's Australia. I got no pistols.
Yeah, that's right. You have inherent safety in your life instead.
Yeah. That's it.
Okay, so I guess, and so you picked up Red Dead 2 as, like, on release date.
Yep.
And I take it you went home and installed it and played it straight away?
Yep, went home, 2-hour install, big game. Oh, it suggested 2 hours. I don't think it took 2 hours, but,
Mine took 2 hours.
Oh, really?
Yeah, mine took a long time.
Oh, okay.
90 gigs off the discs, off the 2 discs.
Same one as me. But, So, I installed it and then, got straight into it for a few hours. Obviously, midnight release, so I fell asleep a few hours in, but even that few hours was pretty special. Knew what I was in for from the opening moments, that's for sure.
Nice. Okay, and so you just to clarify, you finished it as well. So you finished the story.
Yeah. So I've finished the story mode. I'm 85% completion. Obviously on your save bar when you save, it tells you that. So that involves, all your challenges, your compendium, everything to do with that. So 85% through. I've explored the entire map. And yeah, I wouldn't say I rushed through it, but I was very eager to see where the story went. So
it is a gripping story.
Yeah,
it does a really good job. Yeah. Did you hear anything about the controversy surrounding the writers prior to the release? You might not have.
No, I heard something about the staff. There were certain staff that were unhappy because they were made to work 60 plus hours a week.
Yeah.
But then I've been told by other people, people who enjoy games and are right into the games industry, that's not uncommon. Obviously, they've got to set a release date long before the game's completion, so it's hard to adhere to that without some real gritty big days, I'm sure.
Yeah, I guess the thing about that is more the controversy surrounds the idea that the writers, I'm not 100% across the story, but a few of the writers had to do 100-hour weeks leading up to the release of Red Dead to make sure that everything was done. And as the story progressed, Rockstar came out and said that this stuff was not required, that they voluntarily did 100-hour weeks. And then it snowballed into this idea of like, well, okay, they say that it's fine, it's voluntary, and the writers have come out and said that it's fine to do 100-hour weeks. But whether they should be like made to and all that kind of like job security risk in the gaming industry and that sort of thing around if you came out and said, yeah, we're doing 100-hour weeks and it's bull, well, you're probably not going to have a job at Rockstar for very long. So,
yeah, okay.
But what I sort of was leading up to in that stuff was like, I personally feel that the writing is phenomenal. And not only is the writing phenomenal through the story, but the sheer amount of it because of all of the random encounters that you come across is crazy. And I can kind of understand why that might have led to 100-hour weeks, because there's so many like little random encounters that you come across. Like so many of there's like little train robberies, there's people getting bitten by snakes, you get ambushed by different gangs within the game, all that kind of stuff. Do you have like what was your favorite one of those, I guess? You might not have considered that as a thing.
Well, I guess first of all, to clarify, are you talking about writers? You said leading towards release. So are you talking about script writers for the game? Because I think, was there only 3? Because I think the game was only written by 3 people.
So my understanding is it was...
Or was it the programmers you're talking about?
My understanding is originally this problem arose from the lead writers.
Okay.
So that's probably leads into that 3 writers kind of thing. Like I said, I'm not 100% across the story. There was a lot of buzz about it. Yeah. Like not so much focusing on that, but I was saying like they had to do these massive weeks, and whether you kind of fall on voluntarily doing that being fine or not, it does show in the game.
Yes.
Because it is really well written. There is lots of different situations in the game where there's lots of lines, and often it's quite well done. And so I was kind of leading into the idea of talking about the like all the random encounters that happen.
Yeah. So there's so many random encounters. There's so many stranger missions, and I get a good perspective on this one because my partner is actually playing through the game as well. She's up to around 60% at the moment. But it's just so interesting because I've occasionally watched her while she's playing it, and the amount of decisions she's made differently to me as well, which then incurs different dialogue and different answers and different actions, and the amount of dialogue in the game is ridiculous. All this, like not just the storyline, the different ways the storyline can evolve, and obviously then you've got your stranger missions and you've got your encounters, and even just the stuff like you're riding through Valentine after the gangs left that area, and there's a bar brawl, and someone gets thrown out a window, and it's just a fight, and there's actually no way you can interact. I mean, you can loot the body of the loser once the victor leaves, but even then you get like you have no interaction. It's just extra immersiveness, I guess you could call it. So there's a huge there's so much to it.
Yeah, I've noticed there's kind of like I don't know like how exactly they in at Rockstar like layered it out, but there seems to be like 4 tiers of stuff that happens, kind of just, and this is all in the side content realm, and isn't all of it either, obviously. But there's like little things that happen, like you said, someone will get thrown out of a bar window or something, or 2 people will be having a conversation about something. Obviously that's not that crazy, but the bar one is obviously, they need to work out what's going to happen. They need to write a script for that. They need to record lines. They need to animate that happening. They need to smash the window. There needs to be code and sort of stuff behind there saying that the window is going to fix itself after a certain amount of time.
And that's the thing. I'm sure if I interjected in that happening with my character, there would have been extra script again.
Yes.
And
yes, because there is some options sometimes where you hold L2 to like focus on things, to like press circle to intervene if you're playing on PlayStation.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And like for example, today I was exploring spoiler alert, the original map. So the map from Red Dead Redemption 1 on the American part anyway, on Red Dead Redemption 2. And I was riding behind, there was randomly 4 horsemen who rode past, part of a gang. But they didn't interact with me. They were just having a conversation. And obviously, being Red Dead, it wasn't a stranger mission, but it was like a happening. Shows up with a little blip on the map.
Yes.
So I rode behind them for probably 3 minutes.
Yes.
Just to find out what was going to happen, and the conversation kept going.
Yes.
Like it just kept going, and I was sort of like, okay, this has got to lead to something. This is Rockstar, although they do put so much effort into immersiveness and creating such a realistic world. But I followed them for quite a while until I accidentally got too close. Then they reacted to me. Then there was more speech, of course, because they wanted to kill me. And like that's just one example.
Yeah, and you could have just as easily just rode past them.
Exactly.
Like the game's obviously thought, okay, he's coming through here. We're going to spawn these guys. They're going to ride past him.
Yeah.
And most people would just ride past.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But whereas I love that.
I think that's one of the things that about particularly big games, and one of the things that you do when you buy a AAA game that has the clout behind it, like something like Rockstar, is there's all of those tiny little things that only a few people are going to experience. I mean, there's only because particularly in something like Red Dead, there's so much stuff to do. There's so much stuff to do. And it seems to be the way that they've designed it too. Like I was talking about the 4 tiers. I'll just go over what I was talking about there just so I don't leave it hanging. But so there seems to be these little tiny interactions like what we just spoke about. Then there seems to be the little white encounters. Is that what they're called? Is that the technical name within the game?
I think it is encounters.
Okay. Good. And which are like a white circle on the map, and then there's like a radius of if someone's yelling, it'll ping so you can see where it's coming from.
Yeah.
And then there's stranger missions, which are essentially optional side quests.
Yeah, that appear with a large white shade, and then with a question mark at the start, and then with the initials.
Yeah, that's right. And then they lead to other things. And then obviously within some of those, there's the different options as well. So some of them are you can choose to for example, I came across one which was an encounter, and there's a guy that comes out of the bush and he says, "Oh, I've been bitten by a snake. Help, help, help." And this happens a couple of times. This is ones that I've come across 3 times now. Twice by the same guy, actually, and once with another person over near a different town. And you can administer a health tonic, or you can suck the poison out. And so that kind of even that tiny little bit of choice within that action, that happens a lot as well. But I forgot where I was going with that. This happens a lot.
No, it's cool. It's definitely cool. They for that one example, I think you help out one of them suck the poison out, or even give him a tonic. And next time you're going through Valentine, he's sitting next to the gunsmith and offers to buy you a gun for free. That sort of That just everything's got a. I really think going into this, the detail and the amount of effort they put in, not just with the script, but for example, another games company who I just really adore is Naughty Dog, of course. Uncharted, The Last of Us.
People on the channel know that I'm a big fan of Naughty Dog.
Yes, so huge fan.
Regularly shows up.
Not to mention Crash Bandicoot. Let's not even go there. And for example, Naughty Dog were the only ones. Uncharted, for example, you might have a huge train scene where you're fighting your way all the way through a train, and the amount of detail that is put in to the side of the track that you don't explore, you don't interact with, but the amount of detail put into the view and the texture and the realism of that and you literally experience it for less than a second. Because, you know, they are clearly one of those games companies with the main intention of story and, immersiveness, I guess. But I feel like Rockstar have tried. That was probably the only thing, you know, Naughty Dog, I guess Rockstar lacked, or they didn't lack, you know, they put so much effort even back into the PS2 games. There's a huge city that you can explore, but I guess you might get to the dead end in a neighborhood in Grand Theft Auto 3 and it's just, you know, plain.
It's just a dead end.
Yeah, it's just a dead end.
Yeah.
Whereas you
can tell that the programmers haven't put much effort into it.
Whereas in The Last of Us, you'll get to this dead end that's got nothing. You don't find anything, but it'll have this beautiful view, all this beautiful texture. You know, like all these things on the ground that you can interact with, even if they're not like collectibles. And Rockstar, I think, have really just taken that on board. And with Red Dead 2, they have just built this. Yeah, everywhere you go, it just looks beautiful. Everywhere there's something there. Again, like I was exploring the map today, the original American map, New Austin, I believe it's called. And yeah, there were huge like pockets of land with just nothing, no collectibles, barely any animals, but just the amount of detail put into that, you know, into the river, into the land, everything. So really good.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I guess the other thing we're talking about with the other thing that we were talking about with the writing is the nature of the game. So many missions have. I think it's awesome because it makes you feel like you're making a choice, and obviously, the main character of the game, Arthur, is I guess what would you call him? He's like
an angry
like
sub.
He's like a 2IC in Dutch's gang.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
no, I'd say that. Yeah, deputy to the regional manager sort of thing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's kind of like one below the guys that run the game that you roll with, and he's often included into, particularly in the story missions, obviously, like to the point where sometimes the cine bars come down, and it's like, did you want to go left or did you want to go right? And you might be. I remember there's a mission where you're going into a swamp and you need to kill some people that are distilling moonshine, and you are given the option of going left or going right, and you're supposed to do it as like a stealth mission, so you approach these guys and kill them. And I think if you don't do it stealthily, in this case, you fail. It doesn't just transfer into a normal combat encounter. You actually fail the mission and you can retry the checkpoint. But just a little, like, you can pick to go left or you can pick to go right. Or sometimes you can be like, oh, I'll go in during the day, or I'll go in, or we'll wait till nightfall, like that kind of thing.
Yeah,
so much just different variety and that sort of stuff. Did you have any like situations where you thought that was really interesting?
Oh yeah, I guess so. There's
I guess you probably really only experienced one of each of those choices.
Yeah, I guess that. Well, even like a common one is, you know, you're with a gang member, you might be with Charles or with Bill or someone like that, and they say, do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go? And even that's like an interesting choice. And I guess, like, obviously if you are low on health or anything like that, you might want to heal up, or you want to clean your gun or something like that. You can tell them to go first. I suppose just because I was a player, most of the time I'd say, yeah, I'll go. I think a couple of times I said, oh, you go, just to see what would happen. But most of the time they just clean up whoever they found. like there wasn't, I'm sure I might have missed some where, you know, that it didn't quite turn out that way and you've got to save them, or it leads to something else. But yeah. The choices, it's hard to do this without spoilers, because there's a few of these situations at the
towards the end.
Again, don't want to spoil, but at the end of the game, like it's after the story, there's some stuff that and some of them, they're not stranger missions, they're not story missions, they're just encounters, but some of them you can only do once. And I had I'm lucky there's an autosave and a manual save slot, because I messed up one pretty badly.
Okay.
and I got really frustrated because that was that. and because I wanted to know the other outcome, I guess.
Without having to play all the way back through the
Yeah,
game.
exactly. Not like what I had to do with Witcher, where I got the worst ending possible, and I had to do, I think, how many hours is it? Like 100?
Like a billion?
Yeah, to get through that game again. As well as, I guess, you don't want to Google the choices
No.
because that
It's
takes away from the
unfulfilling.
game, but then you're sitting there like, oh, what do I do?
Yeah.
But I definitely think it's a cool concept. And after finishing the game, a lot of the stranger missions I didn't start are still there, which is good. I was really scared because there's nothing fun about, having a choice and then it messes up and you can't do it again. Like that's why there are games. It's like if you died once in Red Dead and they made you start the whole game again. That's not fun. That's just frustrating, I guess.
I guess it leans to different types of play styles, kind of thing, where one person like yourself would want to be able to see all of those outcomes, and another person would want their choices to matter.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, where if they made a choice in a situation and say someone got killed, then that person would be dead now. You don't get like the magical revive pill of bringing this person back to life because you picked the wrong choice or whatever.
Yeah.
Or you can't save scum it or whatever and go back and be like, I'm going to do it again and I'm going to do it again. And there's a big emphasis on that too, obviously, because there's a lot that normally, like games, you know how games will put the little loading spinner in the bottom? In this one, I don't think that there's any like auto-save spinners or anything like that. Like they make a very distinct point of like your choices matter and this is what you are picking, particularly throughout the story.
Yeah.
You can't go back and change your choice, or you can't like, oh fuck, I'm gonna quick load that last slot so that outcome doesn't happen. And I think they write that in a little bit too, is the missions are kind of structured a little bit so they feel like each option feels like the correct option. So you're never like, oh, I obviously fucked that up kind of thing. They feel like, oh, this is a path that I'm going down. Oh, I don't know whether I'm keen on that, but this seems fine, so I guess I'll go with it. And you always wonder what the other path would have been, but at the same time you're somewhat content on the choice that you made.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough one. Like I enjoy it because most of the time, like the story mode, as far as I know, I haven't heard any different. I don't think it finishes one way, and I like that because when choices have too much of an impact, I guess
It's not your cup of tea.
Yeah, it's just not my cup of tea to completely change the outcome. But I do like the fact of putting choices, in missions, just to say, do you want to stay together or are we going to split up? Do you want to go first?
Localizing it to a mission,
means
definitely that it has enough weight to be like important, but it isn't like game breaking where it's like you killed the guy and now you can't get the best ending. Or
definitely, and it is a huge add-on for playthrough.
Yes.
Like playing through it again. Like I can already tell you the amount of decisions I'm going to do differently, the amount of, like if I was to play through it again right now, the amount of hunting and treasure map stuff and all that sort of thing that I do like straight away as compared, and then even in the story, it may not have as many different endings as a game like The Witcher or something like that, but I've got plenty more to explore, because I just do every decision different of what I did last time because, what have I got to lose? I want to find out what happens. And
you'd have half of another game again or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's a certain one, for example, where, this stranger mission, lady gives you a necklace as a reward, family heirloom. And it took me, I really didn't know if I wanted to take it or to let her keep it. And I remember I took it, and as soon as I took it, I was like, why did I do that? But not, I just wanted to find out what happened otherwise, basically. Because, I don't know. And I didn't Google it afterwards. I thought, you know what? Next playthrough, I'm going to do that differently. I'm going to let her keep it and see what happens. So, yeah.
Yeah, and some of those might end up in a completely different thing. and some of them might just end up in like a boost in reputation. Like, oh, you didn't take the family heirloom.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
and I
plus
think some of
reputation.
them do give you a big boost in honor.
Right.
Definitely. Whereas, like, more of a boost in honor than
Saying
an
hi to
example.
all the townsfolk.
Yeah, saying g'day, saying greeting every 3 people. Like I think it definitely it gives you a bigger boost. But
Yeah, for sure. And the interesting thing, I think, how much time do you spend in camp? Because so I'll just explain. Like, there's also a camp in the game, and there's a very cyclical process throughout the missions where you kind of you ride out from camp and you do your mission, and then you come back to camp, or maybe you come back afterwards, and there's sometimes quite a bit of sometimes missions will end like, oh, I'm heading back to camp. Did you want to come along? And you can, again, you can pick whether you want to come along or not. And if you go along, there's an extra little bit of conversation that you have while you're riding back and that sort of stuff. But you end up in camp a lot. And what I like a lot in terms of the quality that you're buying when you buy a AAA game, something like Rockstar, and obviously what they've put into the game as well, why it took so long and why they had to write for so long, is so many times when you get back into camp, there's people that are reflecting on what you just did. So it's all completely optional content because you could easily get back into camp, pick the next mission, and leave again. But if you just mill around camp a little bit and talk to people that you just did a mission with, there's back and forth about things that you were just on the missions with or that kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. So the biggest, obviously, a lot of my friends, a lot of my bosses, a lot of my girlfriend's friends are playing this game because it's Red Dead, because it's Rockstar. Everyone's playing this game because they put a lot of effort and time in it. EA games. You there? You can learn from that. EA game. Anyway,
biggest entertainment opening in history.
Yeah, exactly. Bigger than any movie, bigger than any anything, bigger than anything, which is good because the amount of effort and what they've created deserves that.
Yeah, I agree.
Definitely. But the biggest bit of advice I've been given everyone is just savor it. And so like I said, I touched on before, I didn't race through the game, but I was gripped by the story. My advice to players who haven't played it yet or even halfway through, do all the stranger missions. When someone at camp wants to interact with you, if Javier wants to rob a stagecoach with you, if Lenny wants to
go hunting,
if Kieran wants to go fishing, do it, because those ones around camp are the ones that once you play the game you'll find out why. It's not too big of a spoiler, but you won't be able to do them again, and they're definitely, I guess that's one thing I somewhat regret, is not savoring all those different activities you can do around camp and supporting the camp and that sort of thing. Because the further you get through the game, for reasons unknown to a lot of your listeners, I'm sure, that they become unavailable. And yeah,
for sure. And obviously myself, I'm a big one for trying to probably, I'm not so bad as a completionist, but I'm a big one for trying to do lots of content. I do all the side quests. I'm terrible.
And that's the way to do it.
Terrible for looting bodies. I'll do my best to loot everybody.
Yeah. I can't help but loot everybody after a shootout and then throw them all in a pile and burn them. That's kind of sick.
Sounds dope.
It's kind of sick in the head. This is why we don't have guns in Australia. But it's while there's a stranger mission on the map you can see, go and do it. Do not do the next story mission. Go and do it. As soon as something pops up on the map, even if you're like, oh, that sounds like something I've done before, go and investigate it. It's something different. It's another reality in their world that they've created. It's something else, and a lot of them can have really cool conclusions, as in you can get things from them. You can get things that you can never get again. Audrey's already got a rare rifle.
Nice.
That I didn't get, that I'm disappointed with. My partner,
which one was it?
Basically, my partner Audrey, that's who Audrey is. It's a rare rolling block rifle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a rare one. So it's just called rare rolling block rifle.
Oh, I have a rare rolling block rifle.
Oh, well, apparently everyone's got it except me.
I didn't get from a side mission, though. Got
Oh,
it from a
okay.
main mission.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Maybe you can get it.
Maybe I'll tell you how I got it after this.
Yeah, you better not
So I
spoil.
don't spoil everything.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, yeah.
Gun
And-
icons on the ground.
What's that?
Look for the gun icons on the ground.
The
But yeah.
yellow ones are the rare ones.
Yes. But yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. It's interesting. I guess the other thing is like just like we're singing praises to it, I guess, a little bit, but it is just one of those things where like every single system seems to have been fleshed out or is immensely like has immense depth to it. So like if you even if you think about like the horses, obviously there's in Red Dead, I believe they're just horses, aren't they? Like you get on a horse. It rides around as a horse. It's essentially just a mount. Do they have stamina and stats that increase? It's been so long since I played it.
In Red Dead 1.
In the first one.
Yeah, in the first one. Yeah, so like, but the first one, I don't think it's even measured in bars or, basically the longer you have a horse, the more obedient it'll be, the more stronger it'll be. I think the faster, slightly faster, like, but obviously there's fast horses and there's slow horses, but, yeah, I think that it's a basic system
Yeah.
in
It's a
Red Dead.
PS3, Xbox 360.
Yeah, exactly. Which is still really, really good.
Yeah.
Which is all you needed, sort of thing. But yeah, obviously they've stepped it up with the. I guess that's the one. It's not a criticism of the game, but with its shocking realism comes.
The inability to do everything.
Yes, and comes with a really, really, I wouldn't even say in depth, but the control system, like your controller layout. So with its realism, say someone's standing 10 meters behind you and is just laying rounds into you, and you need to turn around, get the gun from your horse's saddle, and then turn around and shoot them. It's impossible to do it in a short space of time. And so, like, in the 5 seconds that you've turned around, swapped a gun, turned back around, and you've died, you can't help but explode with rage.
Yes.
Because it's a tricky interface. Like, it's another one of those games where once you know it and it's second nature, which doesn't take too long. It's not like one of those other games, again, using The Witcher as an example, where there's a lot of crafting and card games and decks and just there's a lot to take in. It takes so long just to understand how the game works. But it's another example of once you know, it's so much fun. But the Red Dead 2 is a lot like that. But yeah, and making it so real and giving you so many possibilities. I think they've pretty much exhausted the amount of buttons they have.
Yes.
So the amount of times that I had a stranger on the side of the road ask me for a ride, and I just aimed at them.
Yes.
They just scream and run off, and I just explode with rage because I'm like, oh, that's not what I wanted. I just wanted to give this poor lady a lift, and now she's got a double barrel in her face. But the point. Obviously, yeah.
I'm lost in the woods, fucking barrels.
yeah, bang. No, it's
Oh shit! Sorry. Oh, please don't run off into the woods now.
yeah, pretty much. No, it's
It's a bad choice. The snake.
And again, like I can't see an outcome where they have such a realistic and such a interchangeable, such a you can really deck out your horse the exact way you want it to and that sort of stuff. And have your weapons exactly where you want them to, and have your items and your horses. Like the amount, like even just the amount of thought that's been and programming that's been put into
What this
approaching what you're carrying and what your horse is carrying. Even going over to your horse, getting some weapons, having a tonic and some assorted oat cakes or whatever. Feeding your horse, and then off you go to the amount of. Mucking around just to get that sorted out. I can't see an outcome where they make that whole process easier, basically. Like, the only outcome is to make the actions quicker. But then if the actions are quicker, it probably loses a lot of realism. Like a game where you put your AK-47 long rifle back into your suit jacket pocket and then pull out your shotgun from the same pocket. Like, it loses its realism basically. Whereas like you turn around, you shove your repeater into your horse's saddle, and then you grab your shotgun straight back out. You know, and that's got a really cool level. And when you do it, you get that, you know, that
I'm a cowboy.
Yeah, you get that. Yeah, you get a really
cowboy.
What's the word? A sense of not achievement. The word.
I cannot help you. I've gone completely blank.
It just feels good.
Yeah,
we'll stick with that.
Yeah,
it just feels good.
It feels like you're a real gangster kind of thing. It has that element of realism to the. You're immersed in the moment.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a point. Is the depth of the systems, because I was actually going to ask you things that you found probably, like I was gonna ask you later on towards when we decide to stop talking. How things that you liked and things that you didn't like about the game. And you hit on one of the ones that I personally didn't like, which was maybe it's a combination of a few of these things like put together, but the control system it's a special thing in a very particular way. And combining that with part of the game that makes it so, like, part of the thing that makes the game so good, which is just like randomly getting ambushed by 6 gang raiders, but having this control system, which is this unruly beast, which is trying to fit this crazy amount of stuff into this, like, one little tiny controller, like interacting with things, and you've got 3 different inventories for your horse and your items and your weapons, and you're trying to get through all of that sort of stuff, is so unruly sometimes that, like you said, it can be like you might get ambushed by something, and by the time you've worked out where your left foot is to find your rifle, you've just been lit up and it's dead.
Yeah, exactly.
You lose whatever it is, like 5% of your money or 10% of your money or whatever it is. And like you said, you've screamed in furious white-hot rage at how ridiculous it is to try and pull your rifle out and do this kind of thing. But it falls a little bit into its own trap there, because one of the things was, I was going to say that really frustrated me was the controls, and another thing was that combined with certain things like trying to do the guns and that sort of stuff. And there's 2 points I want to ask you about that, which one is kind of about the controls and one is not. But how close are the controls to Red Dead? Because I feel like they were building off the original control scheme, but it's been so long that I can't remember.
So, like, I was kind of scared that they were going to really overcomplicate the game and make it a different beast altogether than the first one. Just, some companies decide to go that way, some don't.
Yeah, like completely changing the reload button.
Yeah, as soon as I was 5 minutes in, I was like, this is fantastic, because it's not that different. Like,
I feel like they were building off the original Red Dead.
In the original Red Dead Redemption, you've got your weapons. They're all stored on you, not on your horse. You hold L1 and select which one, and then you can cycle through your different class of weapons.
Like
through your shotguns.
On your spinner wheel.
Yeah, cycle through your snipers, that sort of thing. In Red Dead 2, obviously, all your weapons are stored on your horse, and then you've got so many slots on your body to keep them. And it's really cool, because you have 2 rifles strapped to your back, the 2 that you picked. You can customize them, so you can have 2 big, beautiful gold rifles with, leather on them or whatever. All your guns matching with your completely customized outfit that matches your guns and your hat. You know what I mean? And
yeah, for sure.
And you pick up something. Yeah, I feel like systemically that's their solution to the very real problem of having a console controller and trying to have lots and lots of guns, is they moved all of that onus onto the horse, and you've got to pick which ones you want, because I imagine they probably did some tests and found that people only use 2 or 3 rifles anyway. And so, yeah, and like I think that's a really elegant solution, having it on the horse. Definitely. It's, again, like, I'm figuring out different things at different times, and I wasn't in a rush to figure them out. One, for example, that I just didn't try was like a dual wield, because I thought you had to have 2 of the same guns and blah, blah, blah. And anyway, I just figured it out that you hold L1 and it's the top slot, and you dual wield whatever 2 sidearms you have, which can be, a sawn off and a pistol, or a revolver.
you can interchange each one individually.
Exactly. Like that's really cool. But again, it comes with the complicated nature of the control system. I only found out like if you're looting a cupboard, you've opened the cupboard up. There's 4 different items in the cupboard. The first one of which you've got too many of already, so you can't grab it. You can tap R1 and cycle through the items in the cupboard.
Yeah, it probably took me about 15 hours to work that out.
Exactly. You can tap it and cycle through and grab, the third one, which is the, a classic oatcakes. My horse's favourite. That and
Big fan of the
basically,
oatcakes.
loves the oatcakes. Absolutely loves them. Like I guess there's so much to it, and there's so many things that like once you figure them out, you're like, that's obviously there's those initial ones that Rockstar gives you hints for in the top left corner, like your hat is stored on your horse, don't panic. Not like Van Helsing on PlayStation 2 where you lose your hat and it's gone.
No, my hat.
Damn it, I needed to finish with hat on. But again, in a game like this, if Rockstar did give you a tip, a hint, for every little thing like that, for example, it's just going to give you too many hints and you're just going to get swamped with information and it'd probably take a bit of the joy out because you're trying to remember it all. Whereas, again, if something like that, like I figured it out, if you just play enough, I
imagine.
I had someone, my manager at work who's playing the game the other day. He didn't know that you could feed your horse while you're sitting on it. Another thing that just
I didn't know that either.
There's such a huge amount of uniqueness in that horse saddle riding situation that literally the only way you can learn it is just to mess around with it. But it's fun, it's good.
That's it. Like I remember a similar sort of thing. I was talking to you earlier last week, and I was telling you the story about how I was riding and I'd just done a bunch of missions and my horse was like in bad condition. Its cores were empty. So the horse has like a bar of running stamina and then it has like a core which relates to how fast that stamina like regrows, and same thing for its health. And both of its cores were empty and I just like run halfway across the map from the previous mission. And then just as I'm getting near the camp, there's this lady that's like, "Did you want to have a race?" And she's got a like fancy racehorse and she's all done up in her race gear and whatnot. And I'm like, oh dear, okay, yeah, all right, let's do this. Let's have a race. And the encounter missions time out. They go like, you're taking too long. So I'm like, I've got to accept this. As soon as I accepted it, she's like, all right, I'll meet you at Caligula Hall or whatever it's called. And I was just like, shit, my horse is in like the worst racing condition he could possibly be in. And I was trying to feed it while doing this race, and obviously you can't do it. But you can feed it from the horse if you're still or if you're just going a little bit.
Yes.
But you can give it a tonic whenever you want.
Yeah, because it's like a shot or something.
Yeah, because it's like a little bottle or a shot or something. Yeah, and you like stab it.
And you like
into the
stab
horse.
it in the neck.
Yeah. Yeah, so like...
Full Melbourne Cup and just race it.
Full Melbourne
and
Cup.
just punch it down the track, yeah.
That's I still lost, so...
Yeah, so do I.
Luckily, they haven't implemented the bit where your horse breaks its leg and you go out the back and shoot it.
Yeah.
But
thank goodness.
Yeah, like just that, like the encounter, and obviously like, and I'm like trying to work all of this stuff out on the fly as I'm racing this lady across the district and trying to, I guess I can give it a potion, I can give it a tonic to make its stamina like full again, but I don't know how far I've got to run, and I don't have time to check the map, and like you're just trying to work all this stuff out on the fly. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah,
but,
I guess that's just it's a concept of you just got to play because I feel like every game's like that. You come across these, you get thrown in the deep end in a sense because you haven't figured out quite how the game works, and then there's opportunity that you feel like, I just missed this opportunity, this once in a lifetime opportunities passed me by in this game because I didn't know that. I didn't know how that worked. But, and at the time it's really frustrating, but then I guess like it also adds to that second playthrough because, like as many of those encounters as I had playing through the first time, I can tell you I had a lot more times where I was just like, wow, this game's beautiful. You know, wow, this game's beautifully written. You know, 3 writers, one of them Dan Houser, who was involved in like Vice City, which had a fantastic script, and one of the 2 brothers that formed Rockstar, and just like he of big involvement in the first Red Dead Redemption as well, obviously, and yeah, just like
the good outweighs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The amount of pearls in it as compared to the amount of duds is a lot more. And again, like on the second playthrough, I'm just gonna take it with both hands and really, really rip in and enjoy it. I could even enjoy it more on the second playthrough, because I'll know that key information, as in do your stranger missions and your camp missions and really get involved with anything that happens, because it's so immersive and it's so beautiful and you don't want to miss anything.
Yeah, I feel like you're definitely hitting on the right note there, because one of the things about it is it does the typical, I think Japan should take notice of this, but the typical current American AAA thing where it's like the start of the game is well-written missions where they accidentally, but really their tutorial missions teach you the game mechanics.
Yeah.
So such as like right at the start of the game, as soon as you get out of the mountains, the start of the game's in the mountains, you like one of your characters is like, let's go hunt a bear. And like obviously there's a heap of dialogue that you're getting filled in by from this character, so that you're a little bit more across what's going on, because you are kind of dropped into it, which is another common thing to do these days to kick the action off really quickly. But like this mission is a learn how to hunt, learn how to track, learn how to use a campfire to cook something, and then learn about legendary animals mission, without being like popping up a panel that says legendary animals. A legendary animal is a thing that you can find in in certain
exactly.
To try not to make it like a pain. And I feel like there's a balance there, because there's still a heap of stuff that in that very Red Dead fashion is buried in that top left panel. In the top left hand corner, there's a little like opacity panel with white text in it. And at the start of the game, it goes fucking crazy. And it's constantly flashing stuff at you, which is important information that you need to know. And sometimes it's happening while you're in a firefight, and you obviously can't fucking read it because you're trying to shoot the 6 people that are trying to shoot you. Yeah. Or it's happening when you're horse riding with someone and they're talking to you.
I definitely hate it the most in the dueling system in Red Dead Redemption 2.
Right.
Because when there's a duel, it pops up with a little bit of information that says something along the lines of the slower you hold R2, the longer you will get to blah, blah, blah. And it really should just say the slower you hold R, while you slowly press R2, your opponent's going to shoot the shit out of you. That just keeps happening to me. And and every time I barely have the time to read it. I still haven't quite figured out the duel. You slowly hit R2 and then you have to tap R2 afterwards to pick your shots.
Yeah.
It's a confusing system.
I think what they're getting at there is the idea that you're going to like slowly move your hand to your gun and then quickly draw it and shoot, instead of, I guess, quickly moving your hand, and the idea is that the other person would see you make a twitch movement and then shoot you faster. I think that's the mentality behind it. But for me, it just comes across as very slowly pull R2, and then when it like changes into Deadeye, just go nuts and just bash the R2 button.
I would have really preferred if it was L2 too, because the whole time you're playing, like I understand it's a different challenge, and the whole time you're playing the game, but I swear every time I slowly pull in R2, and by the time it's fully pulled in, I've got a few rounds in my head.
Just missing some
I've been silenced, and I'm like, I better. It's lucky when it's a mission because you just retry that checkpoint.
Yeah, that's right.
And it gives you that option to skip. And I'm like, no, I need to figure this out. Yeah. I'm not skipping this checkpoint.
Yeah, there's a few things that are a bit like that. And the other thing I think is interesting, is the R2 mechanic is sometimes it's like is the back and forth between L2 is a bit of a pain, because like L2 is focus on someone, and then the options pop up when you're focused on them, and if they're close enough to you to do them, you can do them. But L2 is aim. R2 is aim weapon at person, because L2 is already taken by focusing on them, but you press R2 once to get your gun out and point it at them, and then you need to press L2 to aim.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah,
just
that
some
one.
of the stuff where they've obviously been like, our solution to being able to talk to everybody is that you hold L2 to focus on them and you talk to them.
Yeah.
And then that doesn't leave room for everything else that L2 does that's part of the shooting system and the horse system and the blah to also fit under that little banner kind of thing. And so it gets a little bit confusing.
Yeah,
sometimes.
just watching my partner play. She's someone who doesn't play games usually. But after a while, she's really picked up Red Dead really well. Like she knows how to do some stuff that I don't know. But the amount of times like I've been watching her and she's accidentally just pulled out a gun and shot someone when it said like aim, and she's just put slug in their head before it's too late. And again, if it's like one of those encounters, it's frustrating because she's like, oh, I hope that happens again.
Yeah.
But it probably
won't.
Yeah, it probably won't. Yeah.
Not in this game. I don't think so.
Yeah, it's a tricky
Unless
one.
it's one of those really, really like generic ones where it's like gang is robbing train, and it
Yeah.
could easily happen again because it's generic gang member A through D, and if you
Yeah.
shoot all of them, well, E through G are already, they're probably there waiting to do the next train.
Yeah,
I think,
yeah.
The other thing I found interesting, I'd like to get your take on it, maybe because you played so much Red Dead, you're kind of used to it, is in normal third-person cover-based shooters. So most of the game I've been playing through as a third-person cover-based shooter.
Yep.
I haven't been playing first-person, although in this one there is a first-person mode. And
Which is
apparently
awesome.
if you're in first-person and you aim, you can look down the iron sights.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've read that on an article
Oh, that's
of
sick.
20 things in Red Dead you didn't know you could do. And so if you're in first person and you aim down the gun, yeah, you'll get the iron sights, which also kind of, I guess, helps and makes sense why you can buy iron sights for your gun. But
Yeah,
if you're in
oh,
third
yeah.
person, you have the standard just
I
dot.
guess I thought it would have just helped with the snap lock loading system, like with
Yeah.
that improved accuracy that you get when you buy the iron sights. But that's just another bit of detail. Like
Yeah.
it sounds like I'm just kissing their ass big time, but
It
it's
is
just
like that,
just
though.
another bit of detail that you get from a game that is so full that costs $69. $69 one-time payment. EA Games one-time payment $69 with all these graphics, all this stuff that happened, all these different ways you can play it and replay it, and all this customization. And am I touching the base? I'm sick one-time payment of $69 EA Games. Like, it's
right.
just it really like, and again like with the first-person stuff. I love every now and then I'll jump on a bit of COD online. I love a bit of COD online. I haven't played too much Red Dead in first person, but every now and then, especially, I guess like I was riding down a riverbank and, I just swapped to first person just accidentally. And I was like, wow, this is actually really nice.
Oh, this
And
is
I
good.
just rode down this riverbank first person and enjoy the view. And there's other times like in certain missions, it can help. Like it's in certain instances, swapping a first person might help, and it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool, It's like the cinematic view. You hold down the middle button on your
love
PlayStation
the cinematic camera.
for controller, and it changes to a cinematic camera. If it's a straight road, your horse will automatically follow the road. You pick your speed, and off you go, and you enjoy the game. It's one of those really cool features, when you finish a mission, and because it's a huge map, it's a monstrous map, and you're kind of like, I just kind of want to be back at camp right now, have a sleep, eat some stew, maybe brew some coffee, and it gives you, and the person
Cook
you're
this
on,
flaky fish.
yeah, exactly, yeah, that flaky fish, and it gives you the option, whoever you're with, Charles might say, hey, you want to come back to camp now, and it fast travels you there.
Yeah.
With the cinematic,
with the cinematic
yeah.
camera
Anyway,
and
so I'm getting off topic, but the first person is I'm sure some people play the whole thing in first person. I'm sure a lot of people were like me, where they loved jumping between, and there might be a few that hate it. But the whole thing is,
Yeah, I haven't used it at all yet.
that
But
awesome-
not necessarily because I don't like it or anything like that, just because third person does everything
yeah.
I need it
But
to.
what an awesome extra feature to just come in the game, that you can just pick. Oh, yeah, I might go for, next playthrough, I might say, oh, yeah, I'll do a few missions in first person. Might pile up the bodies and burn them in first person. maybe that's slightly
so
more sick in the
excited.
head. I don't know, but yeah, it's it's definitely a cool feature. It's
Yeah.
I've definitely enjoyed it horse riding.
What I was going to say is, so standard third-person cover-based shooter, press cover, snap to cover, chest-high wall simulator, like that kind of thing. Not as many mechanics to jump between cover as you can see in some other games. And there isn't any like there's a stealth system, but there's no tall grass. So many of the games these days obviously coming out cover-based chest high wall simulator with tall grass to be hidden. Don't get seen because you're in the tall grass. But the interesting thing I found was obviously a lot of those games have, I guess you would call it a standard reticle system where shooting bullets makes your guns less accurate. So the more bullets you shoot, the wider your reticle gets, the less chance your less accuracy your gun has. And so if you have not that there's fully automatic weapons in Red Dead, but like if you have a semi-automatic weapon and you fire it 6 times, well, that's 6 bullets and not very accurate. Red Dead has that weird system that is basically the complete opposite of that, which is you hold the gun and the reticle shrinks until it snaps on, essentially. Like it snaps on and then the reticle shrinks down until it's just a dot. And that's its most accurate point. So it's kind of like reverse standard shooting, I guess. How did you find that? Is that what it's like in the first game? Did you find that to be a pain? Because I know like it took me a little while to get used to the I guess the changes in gameplay, because instead of popping up, shooting a few bullets, popping back down, popping up, shooting a few bullets, you kind of have to pop up, wait for a few seconds, shoot one bullet, and then if you don't want to get lit up, you basically have to duck back down. So if that first bullet doesn't kill that guy, you still have to duck down if you don't want to get melted.
Adds to the realism. Like you pop up, like in the first one, I guess you can tap L2, you pop up, someone's like 70 meters away. I don't know what that is, like 100 yards, and you just cap them in like your first shot. In the space of half a second, you pop up, shoot someone in the head, that far away, pop back down. Like I guess this one's got a lot more of a like you're in the gunfight feel, because you've got to pop up, you've got to get a good aim on him, and you've got to shoot him. And at the same time, you might get shot a couple of times, so then you've got to pop back down. You got to munch some classic oat cakes and have some health elixir. Like, you know what I mean? You got to fix yourself up, but you feel a lot more like in it, as well as like you were talking about the crouching cover system. I really think it's a cool system that you jump in, that you don't swap cover. Like I find that really annoying in some games, the whole jumping between cover as an automated movement. I think it's stupid.
That's what I was talking about when I said.
Sorry, what were you going to say?
I was going to say that's what I was talking about when I said it doesn't have a lot of that extra tat that's on a lot of the chest-high wall simulators. It's just like you're behind cover. It's actually kind of almost frustrating because sometimes you'll be behind cover and you'll bump something or someone will bump you and you'll snap out of cover, but that's it. If you're in a doorway, the only time I've found any like that is if you're in a doorway, you can hit square and it'll jump to the other side of the door. And that's it. Otherwise, you have to tap R1 to jump out of cover, move to a different piece of cover, tap R1.
Yeah, well, I mean, I definitely love the snap to cover, like snap to cover initially mechanic. But I love the fact how in this one you've got to crouch like you did in the last one, but you've got a really quick movement in the crouch.
Yes.
And then there's no automated, like, I'm going to move from this sack of, I'm going to move from this sand sack pile of cover to that rock in an automated, like, it's much more up to you. Like, it's less frustrating, I guess, in that sense, because you're not, like, stuck. You don't kind of feel, like, stuck and restricted. Like, you might just, like, a lot of the time, I think in a lot of the shootouts, I didn't even snap to cover more than once because I'd just crouch. And I'd sort of crouch behind cover, I'd do it myself. I'd run behind this rock and behind this kicked over chair, a table, and all of a sudden I'm out in the open. So I've got to put a few people away and then quickly move to cover again because I'm getting shot. Like, I guess it's just got such a cool level of realism in the mechanics of the shooting. Like, I really did like it. I think that they've done a really good job with like the cleaning guns. Because it's one of those things, if you're not a serious gamer whatsoever, you can still play the game.
Yes.
Like, you don't have to, like with the sleeping and that sort of stuff, like you don't have to do it. that often. You don't really have to do it. Like you can
With
eat.
the sleeping, you don't need to do it.
Yeah,
at all.
well, that's the thing. You can just eat. You don't have to. Like you don't get drawn. Or if you want
Weighed
to,
down.
yeah, you get these choices. Like if you're just, especially, I'm sure there's some kids out there. We all know what it's like watching a young kid play a game, for example, that doesn't quite get all those complicated mechanics. And if kids, some 7-year-old's going to get this game for Christmas and is gonna be able to play through it, whereas someone like me, which is like a bit of I'm an intermediate. I love story and I love graphics. That's why I play games. I get to really enjoy the script and enjoy those mechanics and those options. Whereas someone like you, who's pretty serious gamer, pretty loves their games, love the way games work, love talking about it, you can really get in depth and play it your own unique way. And I guarantee you, when you talk to a friend of yours, he's going to have played it differently. That's what's so cool about it.
Yeah, for sure. Is there anything else? I mean, I can ask you if you didn't. I mean, so is there anything that you didn't like about it? We've been singing praise for a while. And I mentioned that
Okay, so I guess the dueling, I wasn't a huge fan of.
Yeah, we spoke about that.
I know it's something they've tried to do a different challenge, but yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of the dueling. The mechanics are a little difficult, but I really love them because there's the only way I can do something so realistic. This is a hard one. It's not a spoiler, but
okay, so if you haven't played the game and you're really, really sensitive to spoilers,
like I am,
yeah,
don't let me do that.
I'll put something on the screen. That's what I'll do. I'll put something on the screen. So there'll be something on the screen, and you can look at it. And when it goes away, we've stopped talking about the spoiler stuff.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Bam.
Bam.
Okay, yeah. So the map is huge. When I bought the game and I
Is this
opened
going
up,
to spoil something from me? Actually, I mean, just got to chapter 4.
no. Oh, look, I kind of should say it. It's not that much of a spoiler. Okay. So it's not storyline spoiler, anything like that.
As long as it's not the main story.
No. It's not the main story.
Yeah, that's fine. Go for it.
Okay, so upon buying the game, I opened up the beautiful case of my pre-order. There's a lovely big map in there, right? So the map, to my surprise, had New Austin, the state, the American, as well as West Elizabeth. So two states that involve Blackwater, Armadillo, McFarlane's Ranch. The entire American part of the game, if Red Dead Redemption 1, is in Red Dead Redemption 2. I didn't know this. I was like, wow, that's awesome. Man, this game's going to be so massive. I've played through the storyline of Red Dead Redemption 2, and the original map wasn't used. It was not touched, like practically at all. A flicker past Blackwater, so if you know any of the geography of the map from Red Dead Redemption 1, the rest is just there.
Yeah, and Blackwater is right up the top near all the map that is utilised.
Exactly. Blackwater is, it's a minute ride from the new map, which is fantastic. I just don't understand. I do. I'm sure it's for online play. Benefit. And I spent today exploring the old map. A lot of nostalgia, really interesting. Again, I won't go with spoilers, but it's definitely worth the explore. But I just
you wish it had been utilised a bit better.
Yeah, because I saw it on the map in the game, and I was like, oh wow, it's going to be so. And I kind of guessed when the storyline finished, I was like, but the map. But I haven't seen all this old map. Like, what's the point of giving the map? And the only thing that leads me to think is it's going to be it makes it such a monstrous space for online play.
Yeah.
And already they've talked about, there's going to be a battle royale style format in the online Red Dead. It's going to be very similar to Grand Theft Auto 5 online. So basically, number of players dropped in on the map. You get your own avatar. There'll be racing. I'm really looking forward to the gambling, poker, blackjack, even some dominoes, that sort of thing, playing online.
Bloody
So
dominoes.
unlike Red Dead 1, I won't be sitting up drinking whiskey versing the computer. I'll be versing someone else, which is really, really cool. So I'm assuming they're going to utilize all that space in the online activities and that sort of stuff. And if you've ever played any Grand Theft Auto 5 online, you have another life on that game outside of your real life that you live every day. Like
and the money that they made from that is probably part of the reason that Red Dead is so good.
there you go. Like, because there's obviously no one knows the budget for Red Dead at the moment, but analysts have looked at it and expected it to be nearly $900 million,
right?
Including advertising, which is just, But again, when you make 725 in your first weekend, from all the effort you put in, they very much deserve that.
I think just the sheer amount of time too.
Yeah, and it goes to show the different.
Look, it's been 8 years since the first one.
Exactly, and
this didn't suddenly drop on people's desks 2 years ago. They've been working on this for a long time, and it shows in every system, every part of the game.
Exactly,
except I guess New Austin.
It is even in New Austin, like the whole map, the whole thing, the new and the old. It is the best looking video game I have ever played. It is the most realistic video game I have ever played. It tacks on to the best storyline, Red Dead Redemption 1, in a video game I've ever played. Last of Us trailing slowly behind that one. But, it's such a immense creation. But, that's thinking contemporary. Like Grand Theft Auto 5 had a budget. It's not exact, but I think it was in between 300 and 400 million. So less than half of this game. And they made that money back in pre-orders.
I don't think I think about 300 million as far as I'm aware, that's pretty standard for like a really massive property.
Yeah, there you go. So, because I don't know too much about that, obviously I only look up the games.
I really probably should be more across what games cost as well.
But
I believe for like a massive AAA property like that, I think 300 million is...
Okay.
But obviously there's a very, very, very wide stretch in between there where you can make an amazing game for $80 million kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. Like it's such a massive, but then again, like we're talking about this is like 900. And again, that's just what some analysts have suggested. You can look at some articles online, various sources have predicted, but such a huge, return, such a huge investment. So that's going to stem from like the online world, So the online world of Red Dead 2 is going to be a Western version of Grand Theft Auto 5. That's what it's hinted at. Sure, there'll be some surprises and stuff. But
do we know if there's going to be any DLC?
Well, that's one thing that I was also going to say.
Potentially, they might fill out New Austin with some DLC as well.
I would absolutely love it. And here's the thing, games that you're listening. I've been given such a game for $69 release day price. Like, plus I'm going to get to play online for free. I've been given such a package of entertainment that if Rockstar created a cool storyline for one of the characters, in the gang, that's set even if they created a storyline for the gang that was set pre-Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
I would pay $69 again for it. I would. I'd pay $100 for it. Because of the fan that I am of the games that they've already established and marketed so well.
This is an Australian podcast. We're talking
Australian dollars. Yeah, Australian dollars, rather. I'd get it again. And I'd pay that gladly because I'd be like, wow, what's going to happen now? How much more have they dropped? And I think that's, now that you mention that, I think it could be really, really a realistic possibility. I don't know. It could have been really, I'd probably sound silly if they've already said they're going to do that. But I guess back to our original point, 10 minutes ago, that was one of the things that I was quite upset with is how much map wasn't utilized in this storyline, but could be utilized in future.
Yeah, so I guess it's interesting that you say that because I was curious about it spoils a little bit for me for the for the story where I'm currently going through it. But because I guess like trying to keep it not too spoilery, you start the game in a particular place and then you kind of start making your way east, which is away from the old map.
Yes.
Because the old map is the west.
Yeah.
But it does. It is interesting that it's not going to get used at all. And it is interesting that you say that it's still worth the explore because they spent all this time to make it. So it will be interesting to see whether they go DLC. It'll be interesting to see whether it's purely just for online, and whether they intend to pad it out, or whether potentially maybe there'll be content updates that'll cover that. They wanted to get Red Dead 2 out on the burner, making cash before they really fill out all of that space within the map.
Yeah,
there's a few options there that'll be interesting, particularly coming off the back of the success of GTA Online. Did GTA have? I don't believe GTA had like strict single player DLC. It was online and it was normal GTA.
Yeah,
and then there was some free updates and was there some paid updates? But most of those like really big ones were for the online.
No, so you didn't have to pay for anything. Like you can pay on Grand Theft Auto 5 online. I think you can go to the PlayStation Store and buy money in real dollars for online, like for Grand Theft Auto money, but you didn't have to pay for anything that I'm aware of. But I haven't done any of the heists and that sort of thing. But I know the Grand Theft Auto 5 online interacts with characters from the Grand Theft Auto 5 storyline. A lot of the side characters they have missions and activities and stuff that stems from them. And they've hinted that that's what's going to happen in Red Dead 2 as well. Like there may be characters from the storyline that are in the online content that'll give you things to do and that sort of stuff.
Do you? There isn't a persistent online with GTA 5 either, is there? Like you can't play the game. Like the online is completely separate from the single player.
Yeah. So sorry, that was the point I was trying to get to before. I guess the only reason I wouldn't expect like a DLC storyline with you playing as a character from the game is because it didn't happen with Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yeah.
It's entirely you create an avatar and you play the game through that and on the perspective of that avatar. That is entirely GTA 5 online.
Yeah.
There was no extra here's some more storyline for Franklin or here's some more storyline for someone else in the game.
Yeah, but you can't even play through Franklin or any of that online. There's no like semi-persistent. There's no semi online where like it's the normal game, but there's a few other people running around.
Yeah, exactly.
It's online as one thing and like single player story mode on the other thing.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Okay. So I imagine they'll probably I'm guessing that they'll do that again. There'll be Red Dead 2 online and there'll be Red Dead like single player story mode section.
Yeah, I mean at the end of the day, we're forgetting about they did do Undead Nightmare.
That's a good point.
So maybe in this one instead of doing something like Undead Nightmare, which is 100% worth the time to play through, especially when you were really craving Red Dead. I feel super sorry for those people who played Undead Nightmare first and they didn't sort of understand what was going on, that there was a whole proper Western game behind it. But look, I'd really, really love to see some DLC with the storyline from. There's so many cool characters of the gang.
Yeah, for sure.
Either post or pre Red Dead Redemption 2 would be really interesting. Like you could lead up to Red Dead Redemption 2 easily and still have a really thrilling and gripping. They already mentioned at the start of Red Dead Redemption 2 a couple of gang members who they've lost without too many spoilers. So maybe we could learn a bit more about them. It's a really cool concept. I'd really love to see. I'd really hope to see. And I don't pay good money for gladly to get the ability to do that. So
yeah, that's it.
I do love the amount of different terrain, like environments there are.
Right.
Without too many spoilers. There's swamps, there's desert, there's forest, there's rivers, snowy mountains, Great Plains, thick forests. The amount of little extra things there are to find that don't really have too much significance, but they're just there for a bit of effort, and you kind of come across, you go, oh, that's cool. I guess the amount of detail, again, that's just been piled in is great.
Yeah.
The writing, the amount of times I just want to whip out a pocketbook and write down some of the poetry that comes from the characters. Dutch in particular, he has so many, couple liners there. I remember one of them's in the very first scenes of the game when they're in the snow, and he sort of has a chat, like it's just some of the way, the dialogue in the game is just brilliant and fantastic.
Mm.
And I love how interactive the environments are. So on your game channel, for example, I know you've done some videos, or a video at least, about
That's this channel.
Yes, this channel, Game Design by Giggity Big D, this channel. So you've done some videos about how a game might seem like it's doing a lot. In Assassin's Creed, you might be walking through a field of sugarcane, and all the sugarcane's rustling and stuff, but it's really just the game doing some very simple things to seem immersive. I guess Red Dead 2 has really hit that on the head, but it's made it seem a lot more immersive. Even things like there might be a blanket hanging on a clothesline, and they've managed, you walk under that blanket, it'll swing up just like a real blanket would, and then fall back down after. I was riding, chasing after someone, and there was a tree, and it had a branch that was, a couple meters high. It absolutely cleaned me up, this branch.
Yeah.
And it was so realistic. Like, it hit me and the horse kept going, and I stayed on the branch for a second and then dropped and fell on my back. And I was like, wow, like, as frustrating as I am that that this bastard's going to get away, that was that was just so, I guess, whereas other games you'd go straight through that branch as if it wasn't there.
Yeah, or it would collide with you and sort of bend off you.
Yeah.
Like you bumped it away.
Especially in games that have such a big map.
Yeah.
Like you'd just sort of rustle and that'd be that, and
yeah.
And I guess the Red Dead 2 is really nailed.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm really surprised about, like oh my God, would I like to sit down and talk to the the optimization people of this game, because the amount of foliage is insane. It is insane. The amount of just particularly they localize it a lot around the camp areas too, where they know that you're going to be riding in and riding out, riding in and riding out. But the ferns and the grass density and all the little panels of grass, and it's all standard video game, I don't want to say tricks, but it's the wizardry of video games where the leaves are flat plains and the bushes are kind of several flat plains, and the grass is flat and just sort of waves and deforms a little bit in the wind, that sort of stuff. But the sheer amount of it is insane. And it all adds to that that realism that you were talking about before, where you've got a gang of people that are in this grove that's somewhat hidden and easily defendable, and there's ferns and trees and grass and canopies and different types of plants on the ground. It's not one ground fern. There's all of these different crazy types of things and rocks, and the textures are all crazy in depth, and then there's the light streams through them, and there's the god rays, and there's all of the flares, and there's all the reflections and stuff. All that sort of stuff is crazy. Walking down the main street of Valentine, the first town, and looking you walk up at one direction, and you're just damn, this is crazy. This feels just like a real Western town. And there's a store, and there's some houses, and there's a farm.
Have you been knocked over in the mud yet? Because you get up and your back is covered in mud.
Oh yes,
for the next few minutes.
That happens in that
and it's realistic looking mud, and
yeah.
You'll get that when you do get to the original map. I don't know if they've used any of the original map from the first game, the programming of it.
Probably
But
not.
like that goes to say in the variety of textures, from the swamp to the plains to the thick forest, the desert. They've really done a number on the desert from the original map. The amount of cacti
Right.
and just grass and vegetation and red dirt, dust storms, that sort of thing that happened when you go to that original map. I'm sure they could have just sat the old map there and thrown a couple textures over the top, but
I don't think they would do that though.
oh yeah,
Not with the difference in the amount of time and that sort of thing.
I guess so, but I suppose obviously Red Dead 1 was a good looking game, nothing compared to Red Dead 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, the even in they've really stretched it so that there is a huge difference. It's not just sand in the desert.
Yeah.
It's a real desert landscape contrasting to a real swampy landscape.
Yeah.
And even like you get places like Valentine, places like Rhodes, it's a different place. The red dirt in Rhodes.
Yeah, one of the things that I find interesting is moving between places like Valentine's in its own county, and then you kind of move across to Rhodes, and like you said, like the dirt changes.
Yeah, and it turns to that red dirt, and that's so realistic.
In Lemoyne, which is that which is the county that Rhodes has in it, is done on red dirt.
Mm.
Yeah, whereas everything back in Valentine's done on standard black dirt.
Yeah, and it changes again to the rocky sort of stuff a bit further in the game, like the real old looking mining territory, like rock and that sort of stuff.
Right.
And the brown dirt. Like it's just I guess
and what I was saying about Valentine is you walk up it and you're like, geez, this is crazy. But then you turn around and the sun hits that mud pit that's at the bottom near the stables, where obviously it's at the bottom of the hill. And it's amazing. The reflection is like gorgeous. You can see where they've obviously got the normal maps or whatever it is that they're using to create the bumps in all of the wagon treads going back and forth. Those treads are full of water, and the water's reflecting differently to the mud. And there's all the different like footprints and hoof prints and everything. It's insane. Like it is really well thrown together, and stuff like that where like it could have just been mud on the ground and a mud texture, but it's like they've made all of these wagon treads and they filled them with water and they've got the reflections perfect and that kind of stuff, which is really nuts.
It's one of the things that I do find interesting how quickly it turns from day to night, night to day.
Mm.
I don't know if anyone else has noticed that. I'm not talking as in the time compared to real time, but the transitions between night and day are so quick.
Yeah.
And I think, like, I know nothing about this, but I can only assume maybe that has something to do with how real everything looks, because they just seem to be so quick in some parts of the game. Like
I think it might be to do with the internal clock. Like they've decided that this is going to be like a day is going to be half an hour of real time or an hour of real time or whatever it is to do with that.
Okay.
But one of the things like I guess you could extend those periods out though. Like you could say instead of being from 6 to 7, it could be from 5 to 8.
I think it's one of those things where say you've got a day went for 10 hours. And you had your night time for 3 hours and the sunrise. I guess just it seems like in a 24-hour day on Red Dead, sunset lasts
like a half hour.
Yeah, like or even less. It literally just snaps from one to the other. And it's not something you go, oh, that sucks. That changes my opinion on this game. But I guess it's just like
something you noticed.
Yeah, and some of the like sunset scenes are beautiful, especially when you get to chapter 3. Yeah, really, really beautiful sunset scenes, that sort of stuff, but they go so quick.
Yeah, that's right. And there's a lot of I think particularly on that sunset and sunrise, there's a lot of sneaky, crazy wizardry going on to get like lots of pinks, lots of oranges, lots of purples, pink fog or orange fog that sort of like it doesn't roll in, but the distance fog is reflective of the color of the sky as it changes and the moon comes up and the stars come out, and the reflections off the water, obviously, like that kind of sunset day period, and the ambient light changes to that real warm yellow golden hour kind of light. Like
there's and that's again adds to that realism. Like you get into a real thick fog, and it kind of pisses you off as a player, but then you kind of like, well, this is real though. Like how immersive is this? I can't see where I'm going. Like I want this to end. Should I go and nap until this fog goes? And same with when you get to a dust storm. You're kind of like you naturally you could like I want to get indoors. I want to get my horse indoors.
Yeah.
I've got to, I've got to take care. Yeah, it's again adds to that. Yeah, just
I
really-
haven't actually been in a dust storm yet. I've only been in fog once too.
You are, dust storms at the end. That's a bit of a sorry. Well,
No, it's
not storyline.
I guess it makes more sense that it would be down the desert.
Yeah,
Where-
not storyline based at all. It's just part of the weather, so I don't feel like
Yeah.
you've ruined an experience.
You ruined it because it's not.
Yeah, the
What you're
first time
saying
you're
is
like, oh,
no
there's dust storms. You know, I wasn't kind of like that. I was like, oh, what's this? Oh, it's a dust storm.
Oh, Jesus.
Cool.
Oh, dear.
Yeah,
Yeah, fair enough.
but no, it was good. I love the way actually, yeah, I guess that sort of goes without saying, but just the way the characters are written, you can see how they've turned out the way they are.
Right.
Like it's written so well, and the world has been created so well, and the characters have been written to that world, where like you'll get this member of the gang that's angry and a bit frustrating, but he's got a big heart, and you'll see why. You'll see the country where he's from. You'll see the things that he's gone through. The other characters will talk to him and address the things, and you understand the character. The same with other characters. There's characters that's evil, you know, and you really dislike them, but you see why they're like that. There's a character like Dutch, and obviously anyone who's played Red Dead Redemption 1 knows Dutch, knows a bit of background on Dutch, but just the general conversation and the things he has to put up with and the effort he makes for his gang members, for everyone involved in the gang and what he's trying to do, you can see him, you see him change. You see him go through his phases and become the human that he ends up being. Like it's just so well constructed that way.
And there's a lot of care taken into that. I kind of mentioned it a little bit before when I was saying you come back into camp. There's a lot of care taken into, I think, making you've got this group of characters, and there's then it's not a small group. There's probably like 15.
Oh, there's lots, yeah.
20, something like that.
Yeah.
You know, and like some of them have more to them than others. Obviously all of the people that you do like missions with, all the main characters have a lot more to them than someone like Miss O'Shea, which I believe is Dutch's partner.
Yeah.
But like even just little things like Tilly, who is the black girl who used to be a slave, and she has moments where she's obviously just like a really nice person, but she's been through some shit. And, you know, there's situations where you come back into camp and she's telling the story of what happened when she got away to some of the other people or whatever, you know, without trying to get too much into the details. But she's going into this really in-depth story, and again, it's one of those things that you just miss if you didn't stop and hang around and listen to what she had to say. But that's all filling out this little band of characters that you spend a bunch of time in the game with, that you're constantly bumping into and interacting with, and just little things like there's missions that where particularly people in the camp will be like, oh, can you get me like this? And for example, like Bill Williamson. Is it Bill? It's Williamson, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Bill Williamson, like big bad Bill Williamson. He's he's a hard fella. He prides himself.
Perfect example. Big, dumb, loyal, but stubborn. Like absolute perfect example. Anyone with knowledge of Red Dead Redemption 1 knows.
Yeah, that's right.
Bill Williamson.
But then there's little moments where there's missions where people will ask you to get stuff, and so like Tilly from before asks you to get her a necklace, and I forget why. Unfortunately, I'm guessing it's something to do with just trying to feel like a nice lady, even though they're in this gang, and like big, hard, dumb, you know, Bill Williamson's like, can you get me some hair pomade? And I just want to do my hair. I want to do my hair nice. And obviously, you give it to him and he's like, thanks. And he gives you some rifle bullets. And it's like, oh, that's nice. That could have been like, I want you to bring me 6 fox teeth. so I can make a necklace because I'm big hard Bill Williams.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's he just wants some hair pomade because
Yeah,
he's a person.
yeah,
And he
exactly.
wants to look pretty and do his hair, and and like when he asks for it, it's you can see that there's like vulnerability in that. It's
Definitely,
like, hey, have you
yeah.
got some hair pomade? And your character's a bit like, hair pomade, and he's like, yeah, hair pomade. And you could see that he's like, I really want some hair pomade, but I don't want him to know that I'm not a hard bastard. So
No,
yeah.
that's a perfect
Yeah.
example. And you see, obviously, in the first Red Dead Redemption title, what Bill's turned out to be. And that's a
Yeah.
perfect example of showing, that he's human once. He's very much human. He's very much got his vulnerabilities, his good sides and his bad sides.
Yeah.
And the things that happen to Bill turn him into a different person. And I mean, Javier is another one that might mention, just because it's less likely to, let off a spoiler, but Javier is in the first Red Dead Redemption. And,
I don't remember him.
oh, don't you?
No.
Oh, wow.
It's been a long time since I played it.
Yeah, it's been too long. That's how long, if you forget.
Yes.
But a perfect, hey, play it straight after you play this one. Oh, perfect, done.
Oh, well
I really wish I could enjoy it again, like as if it was the first time, as if
Right.
I'd forgotten characters. Really wish I could. But
Need to give it like 12 years.
yeah, probably or more. But
You can play through this number 2 like 4 times and then go back to.
yeah, but Javier is another perfect example of that, because Javier, obviously knowing that as soon as we've all found out that Red Dead Redemption 2 was a prequel, it was like all these, possibilities come to mind about the characters and that. And Javier is just such a cool character in Red Dead Redemption 2. And he's so close with you, like with your character, with Arthur Morgan. He's so on the same tangent for so long. But then, things that happen send, like the tangent.
Push him towards.
Yeah, push them on different tangents, basically,
Yeah.
without painting too specific picture, but it pushes them on different tangents. And some of the comments Javier starts making when he's going off on that tangent opposite to your character, they're just like, wow, like, it's not, Javier disagrees with you all of a sudden. It's very much so, oh, okay.
Javier will remember
Javier's
this.
feeling this, and then Javier's getting a bit more, okay, well, Javier doesn't agree, and then it's like, okay, well, I'm going to have to pick a side here,
Yeah.
and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it this way because I'm Javier. And then, and that leads on to the next extreme, and like that in itself is just special. You just don't get that in video games.
Yeah.
I am exactly like you said with Bill. I am the strong man. I am the kind-hearted. I'm the, most American games, I'm the protagonist with that really annoying voice. Watch Dogs 1 and, the other
Oh,
one.
bloody Watch Dogs 1.
Yeah, Watch Dogs 1. What's the other one? The electricity out your hands?
Infamous?
Yeah, Infamous 1, the first. Yeah, like, that voice. But like really, really cool character concepts and evolution, and just amazing.
Yeah, okay. So I've been talking to you for probably about a bit over an hour, probably maybe coming up an hour and a half. So it's probably a good spot to leave it. Really appreciate you taking some time to talk to me about Red Dead. I know you're a big fan.
No dramas. I can always talk about Red Dead. This hour and a half has gone so quick.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those things where like you just talk about something that you like, particularly at the moment where we're both really engaged in it, and it's just like, oh, it's just so exciting. He's going to talk about it, and there's all these things, and Red Dead definitely leaves you, like it gives you plenty of things to talk about because it's such a, like we've said, it's a systemically very deep game. So
Definitely.
there's heaps of stuff that you can sort of dig into and
Everything-
run around.
Everything about it is huge. Everything about this game is huge. And, I reckon we probably couldn't have talked for 10 minutes about Star Wars Battlefront 2. But,
Yeah.
we've managed 90 minutes for Red Dead 2. So,
It's the,
and
it's
we could
the-
manage double
It's
that.
the first Battlefront with loot boxes. oh, like nobody likes those loot boxes? Oh, I wonder why. They worked so well in everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should have put it on
no
mobile.
one likes pay to win? What? When did people stop liking pay to win?
Yeah. Should have put it on mobile.
Should have put it on mobile.
Would have gone down like it should
Yeah.
have.
Would have gone batshit crazy in like Japan. Anyway, thanks for coming. Thanks for talking to me.
No
Appreciate
dramas.
it.
Thanks very much.
No problem.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.